Hey everybody, it's IyaPatsy, and I'm here to do we're not doing a reading per se. We're going to do some information about healing your inner child, your inner feminine child, because it seems that we have been spending a lot of time trying to balance out our masculine energies, and it seems that, as usual, the little girl in us, the little female, feminine energy has gotten pushed to the side or overlooked or disregarded. So I've been going through each one of the signs from Aries, and I in no particular order because I wasn't even intending to do you today. I was intending to do, I think, Virgo. But as soon as I came down here, I was told to do Pisces. And so, and I don't know. It was like they told me to do. I'm going to be doing it a little differently than I did the other signs. I think I'm just being led by spirit, but they wanted me to just feel like I was reading the story. Just like it's since we're dealing with inner child energies. Okay, for some reason they wanted it to be like telling you a bedtime story or something. I don't know, but I already have all the cards. We're going to get a card from each one of a few different decks and give you the messages that go with that and whatever else spirit wants to bring to you. So get comfortable. And I can't tell you how long this is going to be, but we'll just go with the flow. And if you have to, stop it and come back to it another time. But I'm pretty sure that it'll be useful for you and anyone else, male or female, who you know is a Pisces, that whether you know it or not, this might resonate for them. So do me a favor, do the universe a favor, and send this, share this with your friends and family members who may be Pisces rising, Pisces sun, Pisces moon, Pisces Venus, if you know those things, but definitely anybody that you know is a Pisces, okay? These messages may resonate with them as well as anybody else in your life that you may think that they will resonate with. So, Pisces. Now, the inner child cards is a fairy tale tarot, right? And this is by Mark and Isha Lerner, illustrated by Christopher Guilfoyle. All right, and then if you look back on playlist on my channel, I did a whole series of readings, maybe 2017 or 2018, using these inner child cards, and I'll try to link it for you um, in the description box below these readings. But I just want to get through this first. But yeah, you might want to check some things out in those readings, and maybe it'll resonate also with you at this time. So we are looking at Jack and the Beanstalk is the fairy tale that resonates with Pisces. Jack and the Beanstalk. See if we could get this. All right, so we know the story Jack and the Beanstalk. Jack and his mother had fallen upon hard times. His father was dead, and she asked Jack to take their last thing that they could sell, their cow, to market and bring home the money so that, they could be able to live. And so Jack, being Jack, went to the market and ran into a peddler sold him, who he sold the cow to for 12 magic beans. So I'm going to read it from here. The ancient images of the hanged man, right? And this is the hanged man in the regular tarot, right? The hanged man, right? This is the 12th sign, the 12th card of the major arcana, and always almost reveals a person suspended in a cross of living wood, a figure upside down with his arms crossed. This individual is linked to various myths concerning the dying Savior, the Messiah who comes from heaven to liberate humanity. It is someone reversing his or her view of life, symbolizing the need for self-sacrifice and spiritual atonement. So, maybe, Pisces, you've always felt when you were a little girl, little child, little boy, doesn't matter if you're a boy, if you identified as a boy or a girl, it's just an energy. And maybe you felt that you were sacrificed, or you were overlooked, or you were always kept wondering and questioning about whether or not you belonged somewhere, for some of you. So you might have felt out of place where you were, because this is about imagination also. This is about imagination and self-love, taking the time to try to understand things, to understand the world around you and how it works. See if you can, being open to changing your point of view, surrendering, sacrificing, self-love, doing what's best for humanity, but at the same time, what's best for you also. Okay. All right. In the fairy tale, Jack, a young boy, is caring for his poor mother, and she is representing the unfulfilled earthly abundance. So Jack's mother is in lack, right? Um, so there's abundance that hasn't been fulfilled. After the death of his father, Jack climbs to another world, the sky, to discover new riches for the human soul. Right? In this drama, Jack's mother asks him to sell their last cow for food and provisions, but Jack buys some magic beans instead and brings them home. His mother feels the beans are worthless and tosses them into the garden. However, while she weeps over their sorry fate, Jack looks out and sees that the mighty beanstalk has grown up overnight, rising beyond the clouds. And Jack climbs the beanstalk several times, visiting a strange castle in the sky inhabited by a giant and his wife. Ultimately, Jack is asked to seize a hen that lays golden eggs, bags of money, and also a magical harp that plays itself. In the final act, the giant chases Jack down the beanstalk, but the young lad is able to chop it down, causing the giant to fall to earth and be killed. It is Jack's daring and ingenuity that brings prosperity and abundance back to his family. In other versions of the story, the giant had killed Jack's father originally and took the family's wealth and sacred possessions. So those things that, in some of the stories, those are Jack's family's possessions. Jack retrieves them. All right. Um, so this talks about reversing your view on life in order to embrace a new awareness. Because the next card after this is death, and death is about transformation. Jack needs to go to another higher realm in order to reverse his fortune. He cannot depend on the physical reality that lies before him, because we already saw that it was lacking, right? His earthly abundance was lacking. By daring to explore new dimensions, Jack was able to bring a fountain of unexhaustible resources and riches into his world. So the issue of surrender is very important. Jack surrendered his cows in order to purchase the magic beans. And the buying of the magic beans signifies that Jack can no longer remain attached to a world of logic. So maybe you all are very smart, Pisces. Maybe you're very logical. Maybe you take a lot of time to think things out, right? You look at things from both sides of, or try to look at things from both points of view. You're open to new ideas. You're open to compromise. Okay. If it serves you, yourself, and your family or humanity. Okay. If it's for the better good, if it's for the greater good and yours. So maybe this is the lesson also. Maybe you sacrifice yourself for others and it wasn't always in your best interest, Pisces. And maybe the lesson is to try to find, because you are so logical and smart, to compromise between what's best for the whole and what's best for you. So surrendering, compromising, sacrificing, but using your imagination. Using your imagination outside of your logic. Okay. All right. Um, Jack can no longer remain attached to the world of logic. In a way, he is betting that a magical new life can begin from the sprouting seed, so he's ready to take a chance. Now, his mother is also experiencing a ritualistic surrender by giving up all hope and tossing the beans into the garden. Her crying is an emotional release, a liberation of her suppressed hurts and her fears. It too is magical because her tears, that release, that giving up hope, that abandoning it, letting it go, throwing it out the window, and releasing all the emotions attached to that is the thing that causes the liberation to begin. The seeds were planted and watered by her own release because the mother surrendered the beans. So again, she released it and she cried over it. And in the morning, Jack looked out and saw the stalk had grown from the beans. So her tears, her feeling of hopelessness, and her surrendering it and letting it go, that was the thing that changed their future. So when maybe you were told not to show emotions, maybe you were told not to cry, maybe you were told that crying was a weakness and it didn't solve anything. What good did it do? But crying, tears have a purpose. They're God's way of allowing us to release our emotions ourselves. So we don't have to be violent with anyone, right? We don't have to fight or go to war. If we took more time to release those energies by crying it out. Or some of us, the opposite would be laughing it out. Not being ashamed to cry, Pisces. Not being ashamed to show emotions. But maybe that was what you were taught as a child, to not share your emotions, not share them with anyone outside your family, certainly. But even within your family, you may have been told not to share emotions, that it was negative in some way for you to be emotional. Hmm. Every human soul carries heavy burdens, and the beanstalk linking the heaven and the earth, symbolizes the cross that we all must bear. Part of our lesson is learning that we can vanquish that giant, those phobias, the fears, the unknown, the monsters at the gate, greed, hate, anger, all those things that lurk in the shadowy regions of your psyche, because our imagination. But it's not just Pisces. We all have that. We all have those fears and phobias, right? But the story of Jack and the Beanstalk is a lesson in identifying that and knowing that we can kill that giant, right? David slew Goliath, right? Um, you just have to have faith and be fearless. When this card appears in your reading, see your life and your primary relationships from a fresh perspective. Meditate for clarity. Improve your posture and realize that your spine is like a spiritual beanstalk that carries divine impulses up and down your body. Realize that you can conquer giant problems with just a little bit of enlightenment. You can change your world through the power of positive thinking and the ability to visualize yourself steeped in abundance. Turn over a new leaf. Go with the flow. Surrender to your spiritual destiny. So, the Hanged Man and the ruler of Pisces is Neptune. Right? Neptune, the planet Neptune, is ruler of Pisces. And in the Barbieri zodiac, we have this depiction of Pisces. I don't know how it's going to look. Maybe the glare won't be. Maybe it's just me, but the camera will correct it, hopefully, right? Pisces, Uranus. I'm sorry, Neptune. Neptune is associated with the Roman god Neptune, who is the ruler of the fresh and the salt waters of the earth. Neptune is a complex planet governing diverse human drives such as imagination, compassion, and psychic experiences. Bundled with those ideas are issues of sacrifice and of obligation. Balancing between giving and resentment can feature large. So maybe you sacrificed a lot and you were resentful of this, Pisces. Or maybe over the years you have sacrificed so much that at this stage now, that inner feminine child has become resentful of it. And that's why she wants to be attended to, because she maybe feels that you give too much or she has given too much, Pisces, and it's time to be more compassionate to yourself, right? It's also time to use your imagination to change your circumstances. It's saying that you have a power that you possess, that you've gained over time, and that you've allowed maybe your fear of being emotional block you from your ability to cross over to the other side. Maybe you've been holding back your emotions, but perhaps you certainly let them go recently. And that's a good thing. And maybe you feel guilty about that. Or maybe you resent the fact that you had to release those emotions because you see that as a weakness, but it's not. It's necessary for cleansing, for lightening of your own load, to raise your vibration so that you can start to see things from another point of view, right? Not just your own. Because the crying and the meditation that you should go into after that may bring you the clarity that you need to make a better decision, or to make a decision, period, from an emotional standpoint rather than a logical standpoint. Finding a way to blend both those emotional and logical sides. So, waters, the fresh waters and the salt waters. So, waters, going with the flow, emotions, getting ready for a big change. 13, the death card. We're still at 12, right? But you feel all of the emotions. That's the thing. You were told not to feel emotions, but because you're a Pisces, you did feel everybody's emotions. Very sensitive to other people's feelings, sensitive to the things around you, sensitive to the needs of others. Maybe you sacrificed for your siblings. Mm. Maybe you sacrificed for your own children as you got older. Maybe you sacrificed yourself doing sports. Maybe you sacrificed, and maybe there were injuries that you endured. Maybe you were bullied and you never told anybody about it. And you didn't cry about it for anybody to see because you didn't want anybody to think you were weak. And you didn't tell anyone about it, for some of you. All right. So the hangman is about contradictions. Um, and the advice is to do the opposite of what your instincts, what your logic is telling you to do. But you will get peace of mind from making the decision. Don't. It may be necessary to sacrifice in order to achieve success. So put aside any selfishness or fears and make the sacrifice and try to let go of control of situations outside of yourself or people. Just leave them alone. Anything that's not in the only thing that you can control is yourself. You can't control other people. You can't control the way they behave, the way they act, anything, right? As far as behaviors go, you can't you can't control what their likes and dislikes are. Some people like chocolate ice cream, other people don't. It just depends. But everybody has their own taste. So looking at a situation from both sides of the equation and allowing yourself to just let it go, just like what could Jack's mother have done when he brought home those magic beans, knowing that that was her last hope, their last hope? So she's looking towards starvation. She's looking towards eviction, maybe. She's looking on all of the negative things, and finally she just lets go. Because maybe she's been holding it in all that time. But that release, that expression of emotion is just what was needed to put things in motion, Pisces. So maybe the lesson, the permission that we need to give your inner little girl is to express herself. you know, let it go. If it's tears that you need to cry, don't look at them as a weakness, look at them as cleansing. Okay, so in the hoodoo deck, Pisces is represented by Gullah Jack. Ooh. Gullah Jack. Now, the Bible verse that goes with Gullah Jack, the hanged man, is the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Proverbs 16:9. Proverbs 16, verse 9. So, again, you may have a plan, or you think you have a plan, but God is in charge of getting you there. You have to be able to surrender and claim what it is that you want and let God, the creator, the universe, whoever whatever you call your higher self, allow that power of optimism and imagination, allow that to guide your steps. Now, Gullah Jack has a noose around his neck but his face is serene. He is a he has a Congo cosmogram as his third eye. So he's using his third eye, right? He's tuning into his intuition. He's accepting the messages, right, that he's getting. He's allowing himself to be open to receiving the messages. So Gullah Jack was a prisoner of war who was sold into slavery in Zanzibar. First, he went to Charleston. Eventually, he ended up in Charleston, South Carolina, and he was purchased by a man named Paul Pritchard. And Gullah Jack had a reputation as a powerful root worker with a particular talent for making protective amulets. This may be one of the reasons why Denmark Vesey recruited him to help plan the revolt consisting of only African-born men against the colonists. Gullah Jack instructed the rebels to eat a special diet of corn and peanuts the day of the attack and provided them with crab claws as a talisman to keep them safe. He also threatened to put the root on any of the other slaves who spoke of the plan, because you always got snitches around you, right? Ding. And all of the plotters, including Gullah, was sentenced to death and captured because their plans were betrayed. Because, like I said, there's always snitches, right? So he and Jack and the rest of the slaves who were participating in the revolt were sentenced to death. But the legend goes that he had some mysterious hand gestures that he put out that cursed all of the oppressors. He was hanged on July 2nd, 1822. So, this talks about feeling stuck or limited. Because if you're enslaved, you're stuck, right? If you've been captured, you're limited. This talks about the ability to endure any discomfort, any pains, any humiliations nobly until it's time to get things moving again. So, again, holding on to your emotions, being graceful, not showing your real true feelings, right? Until it's time, just waiting, biding your time until it's time to get things moving, right? So for some of you, maybe you spend a lot of time waiting on things to happen and not being being patient, right? Doing your meditation, doing your work, always. Maybe you just waited until it was your turn in school, right? Maybe you didn't push up too much, all right? You didn't maybe you rebelled, but you did it in a different kind of way, so as to avoid exposure. Okay, so maybe you threw rocks and hid your hand for some of you. Hmm. Ask for the wisdom to know exactly what to do and how to get things done once your life starts to get off of pause. Don't try to force things to proceed prematurely. Just go with the flow. Remember to be man or woman enough to accept any consequences of your actions. If the current stalemate in your life, in your relationship, is a direct result of your own ignorance or your bad choices, oh well. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You'll be free once the necessary lessons have been learned. So you may have caused the circumstances that you may find yourself in right now, Pisces, that you are trying to heal from. So just accept the fact that you may have done something to contribute to the situation. Know better that if you don't like the consequences of your actions, you may want to think about a different way going forward. Just accept it, okay? Fucked up. But the faster, not faster, but when you finally get the lesson, you'll be free to move on. This card may also be saying that sometimes the sacrifice of your own desires for the good of the whole is the right thing to do. So again, surrender, sacrifice for the good of the whole. And in the end, it may not feel right at the moment, but in the end, if you think about it, meditate on it, there's something good that'll come out of it for you too, because of the sacrifice. God's not going to know that you're going to give up something that maybe you really, really wanted, or a goal that you really had, and maybe something happened and you did something, or the other person did something that caused the plan to not take hold. Does not mean that you're not still going to be blessed. You're still going to be blessed. You just have to imagine yourself being forgiven. Imagine yourself being protected. Imagine yourself being fearless and able to go forward without fear, right? Without worry about judgment of anyone else, right? Owning your life, owning who you are, but being willing to make the adjustments necessary. But again, you've always made adjustments for the betterment of the whole. Maybe no one ever recognized you for that, because you're being led probably in a situation now in your adult life to sacrifice once again. And maybe that's the stalemate. Maybe that's what you're thinking about. You're holding back on this one. It's like, do I really want, you know, is this might be good for other people, but is it really the best thing for me to give this up, or to embark on this journey, to make a choice, to join, all right, or to give up something for the good of the whole? Maybe you don't want to give up something and you feel that you're not being given a choice, or the choices that you have, one is a selfish choice and the other is for the best of the community. Consider waiting, allowing yourself to feel vulnerable, accept that this is the way it is for now. What would it take to make you let it go? Think about it. Meditate on it. How bad would it have to get? Or whatever it is, what would it take for you to let it go? And know that it's okay to change your mind. There's no shame in changing your mind. If the sacrifice is worth it, what are you waiting for? And now it may be the time to put the needs of others before your own. So there may be a situation facing you that you feel like you're being cursed, you're being controlled, you're being made to do things that you normally wouldn't do. So perhaps that helps. Maybe this will help. And maybe you do have to sacrifice and surrender something that, even though right now it's not, maybe you don't feel as that you're getting anything out of it. It may be for the greater good, right? Like Jesus sacrificed himself for the greater good. But then he went to glory, and look how many 2021 years later, we're still talking about Jesus. We're still looking to him as an example, right? We're still believing. We're still believing. And that's also what Pisces is about believing. Believing. All right, from the Ancestors deck, we got the Water Guardian. time to understand how you really feel. So get in touch with your feelings, Pisces, and know that it's not a curse to be sensitive and vulnerable. It's a gift that allows you to receive and understand messages that are being sent directly to and from your soul. This is about water. Water is the element that is in your blood, your tears, and your flesh. 70% of the earth is water, right? The water guardian represents the angels of water who can help you dive within to understand the depths of your emotions. These angels are all about helping you see that your emotions aren't just the feelings that are on the surface. They are also the old emotions that you may have locked deep within the shadows of your soul. Through helping you acknowledge your deepest emotions, the angels of water help you to hear the messages that have for you. They hear the messages that they have for you and to unlock your intuitive powers and the energies of abundance. Let's say that again. Through helping you acknowledge your deepest emotions, the angels of water help you to hear the messages that they have for you and to unlock your intuitive powers and the energies of abundance. The angels want you to know that it's okay to feel the emotions that you are suffering and the emotions that are surfacing in you at this time. It doesn't matter if they're joyous or sad, they are all powerful messages that allow you to understand what you want and what you need. Take time to breathe and acknowledge and let these messages flow through you rather than you chasing them. So allow, surrendering, being open, right? Don't you don't have to go looking for the answers. If you meditate and open your heart, the answers will flow to you. And you may be experiencing psychic upgrades at this time. All right, so it's good for you to take notes, right? Jot things down because you may miss important messages. And there's guidance coming towards you that's going to lead you towards support and love. So Pisces, maybe you didn't feel supported as a child, right? Again, you may not have felt supported. You may not have felt accepted in being who you are or expressing your feelings, and definitely about being vulnerable and crying. So you may have had to be a breadwinner of the family at an early age, for some of you. So you did sacrifice. Maybe some of you didn't finish school, but it gave your siblings the opportunity to finish school. Okay. Maybe you decided to start a family and instead of finishing school, right? Maybe you got pregnant in high school and you decided to have this child and sacrifice. You feel you sacrificed your young years, but you did it willingly, right? No, but there may be times that resentment of your own choices have come out because you feel you weren't free to express yourself. Something around you, Pisces, in your childhood. Is that the moon? I guess so. Dang, okay. That's the moon, I guess. I see something here over my right there. Yeah, right there. Looks like the moon. I guess it could be coming through the Venetian blinds. I looked up, it looked like an orb for a second. Okay, but orbs don't stay around like that, do they? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Maybe something, someone, some circumstance where you wanted to express yourself, where you wanted to cry, you wanted to be vulnerable, but you were told that you could not. And maybe you feel that that has impacted you from that time on. And you're still paying for the fact that you didn't feel free to express yourself. You were sacrificing your opinion. You're sacrificing how you felt about a situation. Maybe you sacrificed how you felt about your in-laws for somebody. You may not have liked your in-laws, but you sacrificed and let your children interact with the in-laws even after you were divorced. And maybe you right now feel like that might not have been the best idea. And so now you're resentful of yourself. Why didn't you say something? Why did you let that happen? For some of you, maybe you were left in a situation and as a young child and were vulnerable and no one protected you and no one acknowledged what had happened to you and you didn't feel that you could speak about it or cry about it because it would have created problems for others. And maybe you still do that now. Maybe you hold on to your emotions to protect others. And maybe in this situation, whatever the situation is for you Pisces right now, it may be, again, you're being asked to sacrifice. And that's the resentment. Okay, that is the resentment because you feel like you're always being asked to sacrifice. But understand, Pisces, that you, like Christ, are the link that we have between the heavens and earth. You embody all of the emotions, all of the signs of the zodiac, from Aries to Aquarius. They have to come back to Pisces, right? Pisces is emotion, in motion, right? Its symbol is two fishes, right? Going in a circle. But that's also power. That's also fire, right? The faster those orange koi fish move, this little movement there, a little fire there, right? It could be a fiery ball of energy going forward, moving forward. That's your symbol, right? You share a similar symbol with Cancer, right? The yin and the yang. 6, 9, two fishes. Gemini also, two, right? There's aspects of all of the signs within your emotions, Pisces, but you haven't been able to acknowledge that. And maybe the emotional ones, the watery ones, the Scorpio energies, the Cancer energies. Oh, I said enemies, okay. So you could have Cancer enemies. But anyway, those energies may be things that you need to look at and embrace to nurture yourself, right? To be nurturing, being a mother, which is a Cancer energy, being a parent, being curious, being inquisitive, questioning things, keeping secrets. Scorpio energy, which maybe you being able to embrace all of the different signs, you need to maybe embrace your water sister and brethren and energies more, right? Be more like Scorpio, maybe more like Cancer in your emotions, nurturing yourself, allowing yourself to feel and to express those feelings and to be vulnerable and to do things for the greater good. But you always have, again, you always have. All right, from the Casanova deck, 44, 47 right now. The Casanova deck the Hanged Man is depicted. I just want to make sure because it's the Roman numerals here. This is Casanova himself. And this is talks about sacrifice, suffering, transitioning, points of view, painful but necessary transitions, putting oneself to the test, final difficulty. And this is actually a depiction of Casanova, who he was imprisoned in, what's the name of the prison here? He was in Piombi, the Leeds. They call the place the Leeds, the prison there, in Venice. And they say that Casanova was the only person to have escaped that prison. So the final sacrifice before freedom. It may look like a sacrifice that may not be in your best interest. You may be sacrificing more for others than for yourself, but it's going to give you freedom. Okay, it's going to give you the freedom that you need, the ability to be emotional, the ability to be yourself. Or maybe this is the last final sacrifice that you have to make, and then your life transitions to something else. Start all over again. Aries, being a leader, being in charge. Something to consider. Different point of view there, right? That might be it. You might be being asked to make a sacrifice for the best of for the greater good, which is going to propel you to the abundance and the wealth and the leadership that would come next, because Aries is next, right? The leader, the top spot, head of a household, head of a company. You're an entrepreneur. Maybe you're afraid to take a promotion, or maybe you're afraid to start a new business, or to take a position that you're being offered, or to sacrifice a position for the greater good. You know, like maybe like the guy that is in charge of Twitter and Amazon and even Bill Gates, right? They gave up their positions at the head of their companies for the greater good. But I'm sure they're getting something out of it, right? Because maybe they had, ridiculousness with the taxes and things like that, or just because, maybe they genuinely like, let somebody else have a shot at this, or maybe other energy needs to come in here for the greater good, for the better interest of the company, for the better interest of my family. Maybe sometimes people make decisions about getting divorced. Okay, just like Bill Gates and Melinda, that's his wife, right? And everybody's like, oh, but they've been together so long. But this may have been for the best for them and for their families. Or maybe a sacrifice that they may not have wanted to make. And I don't know what Bill Gates' sign is. It just came to mind. In a situation like that, it's like you don't want to leave this person, but maybe at the end of the day, it'll be the best thing for you, because there'll be something better coming towards you if you believe and if you can see it, right? If you can imagine, Pisces, with that vast imagination that you have, with that fearlessness that you do possess, to allow yourself to say, you know what? All right, messed up, or they messed up, or whatever the case is, I'm out, and just accept it and cry it out. And maybe at the end of those tears, the change is going to come for you, Pisces. The change is going to come for you after you express your, your feelings, after you allow your emotions to be seen, to express yourself, right? To allow yourself to be vulnerable. The Light Seer's Tarot, the Hangman. Now here she is, hanging upside down, holding on to her own ankles. So she's supported. She's got control of herself, surrendering to the will of the cosmos intentionally so that you can reflect. It talks about letting go, embracing the new, realigning with your heart and your purpose. New wisdom is found, spiritual teachings, sacrifice, enlightenment. So maybe you were sent away to school and you didn't want to go. Or maybe you were adopted. Or maybe someone gave you up for adoption. Okay. For somebody, maybe you were given up for adoption, and while you do love your parents and you had a good life, you still want to reconnect with that other parent, and maybe you aren't sure whether that's something you should do because you don't want to feel ungrateful. But if you don't do it, it's hurting you because of the curiosity and the need that you may have to know that part of who you are, to reconnect with that history for whatever reason. But you don't want to make your birth parents think that you are ungrateful or anything. And so maybe you never expressed the need, all right? Or maybe you've expressed it, but maybe you haven't shown them exactly how intensely somebody feels this intensely. Okay. That they want to connect with that birth parent or with that person, birth mother or father, but they feel, dang, okay, they feel as if they do that, it's disloyalty. But actually, if you do it, it's going to be for the better good, for the greater good. It just may not look that way right now. And maybe you feel if you cry, it'll be manipulative. No, it's your emotions. You're allowed to cry, male or female. There are women who don't like to show emotions either, right? Because they have been operating in their masculine energy for such a long time, because they've been responsible for other people. Maybe they've been the supervisors, the bosses, the older sister, siblings, or whatever circumstances they were. They just did not feel, you Pisces did not feel free to express your fears and your failures. Mhm. Talks about self-sabotage, holding on to something that's not meant for you, being stubborn. Surrender, sacrifice, flow with it. Divine wisdom spills forth in moments of deep flow, and the hangman is offering you a chance to look at something from a completely different perspective. When you let go of that thing that's got you stuck, you'll make space for new insights and advantages to shift into place. Open your heart to the bigger plan, the greater good. And you'll inadvertently tap into a whole new frame from which to see the world. I didn't bring my tarot glasses down with me. I got it. I think I'll have to get another pair of those. Two tarot glasses. Because when I'm upstairs and I'm reading books and tarot, it's the same thing. So I think if I needed, okay, forget it. Anyway, moving on. Once you open your heart to the bigger plan, you'll inadvertently tap into a whole new framework from which to see the world. A whole new world. Okay. Know that your path and your dream may look unfamiliar to you after you relinquish the need to direct the outcomes. Surrender to the will of the cosmos and realign your life with its sacred patterns. The universe already knows which life altering lesson is the key to your happiness and to your higher self. It has so much more wisdom for you when you intentionally pause to listen. Lean into my inner world of limitless miracles, surrendering to the divine will of the cosmos. So, surrendering, allowing, meditating, listening, writing, writing. When you meditate, Pisces, it might be a good idea to write down what happens. Just write it down or videotape it or something, because messages may come to you that you may not remember later on. You may get messages that you may need to review or encourage yourself, because this is new, right? If you're not a person who's used to being emotional, you may need to encourage yourself to do that. Or if you're ready, you have to sacrifice a relationship or a situation or a person or people that you may not be enthusiastic about leaving, but you have to, because it's not meant for you. There's something greater there. So accept that. Accept that the universe has something else for you, Pisces. If you open yourself to it, and it's going to flow to you as soon as you let this thing go and be okay with it being gone. It's a sacrifice for the greater good. Okay. Well, it is 5709. So, Pisces, I think that that's enough of a message. And I have a Pisces moon. So I'm emotional. And what am I going to do? Sit here and cry for another hour? Which you people, I'm sure you have other things to do. So just know that it's okay to be vulnerable. If I can do it, you can do it. Just let yourself go. Let your feelings flow. What is that? Let your feelings flow. Love will grow. Falling in love so easy from the start. I thought I had it in my hand. Something went wrong. Somewhere we lost the part. It was more than I could stand. It was too late when I realized that I couldn't see the forest or the trees. Something's wrong with me. There comes a time in every life love may come your way. And if it should stay, you gotta hold on to it tight and never let it go. Not love. It's a shining star that's here to guide you. And every lover knows you gotta hold on to the good inside you. Let your feelings flow. And I'm sure love will grow. Oh gosh. Okay. Well, that was enough. Mm. Who's that? Peeble Bryson? Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. Let the feelings flow, Pisces. It's okay. It's for the greater good, the good of everyone. And there'll be something on the other side of that rainbow for you. Okay. Thank you guys for letting me share these messages with you. I hope that they were helpful. And I will be speaking to everyone real soon. Be blessed. Namaste. Peace. Ashe.